You can see we already have some canners on the stove. I'm busy canning beans. I've got some. Funnel out of here. Just leave that one there. Canning funnel. So all I do is I rinse my beans, I put it in here, and then I'll always try and put my salt on the bean so I can see it, because if you put water in, then the salt gets lost in there, and for me, I can't remember which one has got salt and which one doesn't. So I first put my salt on there. And the rule for canning for a quart is always a teaspoon of salt to a canning jar. For a quart, it's a half a teaspoon for a pint. So I just put a cap on here and put my ring on, and it's ready to go in the canner. So I just have my beans here. I just stick my fingers in there and fill my jar up with my beans. I soaked it overnight.
Yes. Okay, overnight.
Yeah. I've tried it with dry beans, but they don't really cook totally soft. Okay. They say you can do it, but I've tried both ways and I prefer this one. And it's the nicest chickpeas or garbanzos that you can cook. They like butter when they come out here. And you don't burn it in your pot. Okay, now with these beans, I'm just going to shake them down. And you need to give yourself some space. There must be about a half an inch before the neck, because your beans might still expand a little bit while you're canning, so you don't want your jar to fill up too much. So I'm just going to put my cap on. I need to fill water and put some salt on. Now when you're canning, you're always going to use canning salt. Why do I want to use canning salt only when I'm canning? Anybody know? Table salt, they have additives in it. There's iodine and other free-flowing agents in normal table salt. And iodine will rust your caps that you put on the jar. It will rust it from the inside, and that's not going to keep your seal. So we use canning salt. It is pure salt. There's nothing added to canning salt. So I use canning salt in everything I do. Cooking in the kitchen, everything. I just use canning salt because my son is allergic to the iodine. And it's in Walmart in a salt section. Okay, that is beans. We will, like I say, we will see the end result of the beans as we are busy working here. When I'll just put the canners on the ground when they're done there, and we will get the next things onto the stove so that you can see the end results of that as well. The next thing that we're going to do is tomatoes. I need a sharp knife, my orange one. While we're busy doing this, I've got some bread here. I bought these stainless steel containers from TJ Maxx. It's utensil holders. They're beautiful and sturdy stainless steel. And I've been on a mission because bread is our staple food. And I realized, what do I do?
Can you get the move over 1 foot?
Me? Okay. I need that again. I wanted to find out how can I make bread if I have no power. Now I've perfected 3 ways now without an oven. So I can make bread, I'll be fine without any power. So what we're going to do, as soon as this bread is about 3/4, about this high, that's why I've got the clear lid so I can see what's happening. I'm going to close it up with some foil and put elastics around them. And then we're going to put it in my canner, my water bath canner. It's actually a steam canner. And we're going to cook it on the stove for 1.5 hours. Just filling in some water all the time to keep it from not running dry. That's how easy it is to make bread without an oven. Okay, tomatoes. We got some Roma tomatoes. And you normally have your tomato, you want to peel your tomatoes before you can them. Because as soon as you start cutting your tomato up, it's going to form little skins that will pull and they can get stuck in your throat when you eat. So I always pull my skins off first before I can. So I have boiled some water and I'm just going to put my tomatoes in the boiling water. And let it sit here for a little while until the skins start to split. And then I can peel them very easily. So I'm just going to leave them there for a little while. And while that's happening, we're going to take the tomatoes that we canned this morning out of the canner. This is a water bath canner. You can buy them from Walmart. I think that's the cheapest place to find them. Or at garage sales, people sometimes give them away. Somebody gave this to me. The shelf inside is a little rusty, but the food is inside the jars. Okay, here's our tomatoes that we canned this morning. They're all hot, so I'm just going to put them in my box so that we can be able to move them around a little bit. As you can see, don't know if you can all hear the sound. All my jars sealed beautifully. This is the difference between an unsealed jar sound. You hear that, it's a dull thud. This is nice and tight. So I knew all these jars sealed. If they didn't seal, I can just redo them. First check. There might be some food that got stuck under the seal, or my jar might have a chip in the lip at the top. So I just put it in a different jar and then I will be able to redo it. You will see this is only tomato with its own juice. It tends to float a little bit. As soon as the jar is cooled down, I will just shake it up and it will make a nice tomato. Okay, now what I did is I cold pack my tomatoes. I don't first boil my tomatoes and then put them in the jars. For me it's like spending too much time. So we will show you as we do this few tomatoes. My canner's water has cooled down quite a bit already. I've got some applesauce that we already put in the jars. and we need to get that on the fire as soon as those pots come off. So the water in here, I can stick my finger into it. If it was boiling water, I would not put a cold jar in there, because it will just crack your jar and then you lose everything that's inside, because you don't know where the glass is that shattered it, you know. So I'm going to put these jars in there and just let them down into the water, and as soon as those come off, we will replace. And we'll get to the applesauce. I'll walk you through that, how I got to the stage.
You used the applesauce can to show us that it was not sealed.
Yes?
That after boiling, the sealing happened?
Excuse me?
After boiling, the sealing?
Yeah, it will seal, because as soon as it gets exposed to cold air, it sucks all the hot air out that's inside your jar. So there's actually a vacuum that's formed inside your jar. So that's our applesauce ready to be, and people do it differently. Some people will cover their whole jar with water. I mostly just cover it up to the neck, up to here, with hot water. And see, there's some of my lids that's already popping a little bit. So I'm just going to leave that until we can get there. The bread is ready to cover up now. And I'm just going to cover it with the foil to prevent the steam that's forming inside my canner from dropping onto my bread. And I just have a little elastic. Oh, that would have tied here. And I just put it around here. Yellow jacket wants to be cooked as well. And I'm just going to stick this into my canner here behind me. And I've got some warm water in here, so it will rise a little quicker in there. Okay, that's ready. This one can go in. Okay, let's just see our tomatoes. Now, when you look at your tomato, if you touch your tomato, you can actually feel that the flesh underneath is getting softer. And you will see how easy it is. I normally just take my paring knife and I just take the core out, and the rest of the skin just peels off like this. I normally have it on my stove and still cooking, and as I see the skin split, you will see this one skin split open. Then I know it's ready to take out, and I dunk it in some ice water so it's easier to handle, and it also stops the enzymes of your vegetable or fruit that you're doing to develop further. So it's an important step. Margaret? We need to get our ice water. I just want to get the ice water, then we can just dump. Thank you. So I'm just going to take my tomatoes out. Seeing that it's quite hot there, I'm just going to try and improvise here. Okay. I'm sorry, we can't see through this.
So those are like pressure cooking?
Yeah, I'll explain the difference now between water bath and pressure cooking. Whenever you water bath, and that would be in a canner like that one, or a steam canner, it's also classified as a water bath. This canner, I have a base and it's got a rack in it, so my jars would stand on top of this rack and I just fill water up to the base of this rack, and I put my jars on top of this and I put my lid on. And as soon as I see the steam coming out the holes on the side, there's two little holes, I know that is when my water is boiling and there's enough steam inside, and then I count my time according to that steam that's coming out. And this is also a water bath. It will fall under the water bath section. And you only do high acidic fruit and vegetables. Actually, vegetables, if you want to do a vegetable in there, it should be a pickle. You should have pickled it with citric acid or vinegar to be able to use a water bath. All vegetables, you're always going to pressure can. So peaches, apples, tomatoes is a vegetable, a fruit. That's why it's got enough acid in it to be able to be used there. So these are now much easier to handle here. So it's just to cut the core out. And you will see if you grow your own tomatoes at home, they normally have a much tougher core. But they taste 100 times better than bought tomatoes. And what I will do in my garden when my tomatoes come in, as soon as I have enough to put in a few jars, I'll do those few jars and can them and put them away. Now, I like to can my potatoes because my potatoes will last the whole year if I can them. If I store them, they start to realize when the temperature change, even if they're in cold storage. With potatoes, I can keep it for up to 5 years in my jars. So, and it's already cooked. I just need to grab my jar, rinse it out a little bit, and maybe bake it in the oven or fry it in a pan or blend it up to make a soup. So it's already there made. And I have samples here in front. Can you see all the stuff? Now, potato is also easy. All I do is I just wash my potatoes. And the secret of canning potatoes, don't go and buy potatoes in town and try and can that. Because they've been in cold storage, you'll get ugly grey potatoes in your jar if they've been in cold storage. The secret is to get them as fresh as possible and then can them. Then they will stay white and nobody will know it's been canned I use canned potatoes all the time, and nobody has told me, oh, they can taste that it's canned potatoes. I just dice them in little squares, fill my jar with the squares and put some hot water over, and then I pressure can them for 50 minutes.
I noticed in your canning, some have rings on them and some don't. Does
Yeah.
that matter?
I'll use most probably the ones that like jelly. I will keep my rings on because I'm going to open that jar and reuse it. I'm not eating everything at once.
So keep the top on.
Yeah, but why do I take my rims off? Yes, if I leave it on this jar, it's wet underneath there from the water. It's going to rust. So I take, if I know all my jars are sealed, I take these off and I wash them and dry them and keep them for the next time. And also next, if I use tomatoes, I'm going to use this whole jar. That's why I can tomatoes, because I love tomatoes. It's much cheaper to have it from your own garden than to go and buy them. And also, if you can see normally that there's a jar that's unsealed in your pantry, because you will have some fruit flies flying around. And if the rims are off, the rings, you can just go through your pantry like this and you will quickly find the one that's not sealed. And you will probably see that the flies have been breeding in there already. And then I just discard that ingredients and wash my jar and store it for next time. So I've got a whole drawer full of old rings in my cannery. I'm very fortunate. I don't know if any of you knew Mr. Jensen, John Jensen. He stayed in this house before and he left me a cannery. So I can do 3 boxes of apples all at once in a gas cooker. And then I've got the electric strainer right next to it, and I've got a water bath that can take 20 jars at once. So our record last year was over 300 jars of applesauce in one day.
Wow.
I help the campus people. If they want to come and can the apples, they can come make an appointment. We have a canning day, and if we have that boiler going, they stand in line, and as soon as the one is done, the next one puts the apples in. So we get things done quickly. Okay, Margaret, I need 2 empty jars. Yes.
So as soon as it's sealed, I can take the ring.
Yes.
Wait
It's sealed. See, I canned this morning, so it's relatively cool. I can touch it already. I won't do it when it's boiling hot still.
okay.
Yeah. Things that I'm going to use again, I leave the jar on. Say if I'm going camping and I take a jar with me, I'll put the lid on just in case, because you might need some storage space in a jar and you only have a cap, then you can't do nothing with the jar. So that is, there's a little piece of skin here. You see the skin rolls up, and it rolls up like that. And that's going to be in between your tomatoes if you can. That's why I like to take my peels off. As long as it leaves me alone. Yellow Jacket is my companion. There we are. All of them are peeled. Now it's to cut them. Okay, let's move this out of the way, then you can see what we're doing. Be careful, it's wet underneath. You'll have to, thanks. Okay, I like to take a cookie sheet and I put my breadboard inside of it. Because as soon as you start cutting tomatoes, they make juice and it's all over your counter if you just have a breadboard there. So I like to do it that way. Like I said, I'm doing cold packing, so my jar is clean. I've just taken it out of the dishwasher. I wash my jars in the dishwasher before I start. So if I know I'm canning, I just load my whole dishwasher full of jars, and the next morning they're ready for me to do my job. With these tomatoes, I don't need to cut them too small. I'm just going to cut them in half, and they will be, and then just in half again in a quarter, and then just slice over in smaller little cubes. And as soon as that's done, I just plop it into my jar. Someone asked me once, do you make ketchup? Your own tomato paste. Ketchup is actually easier than tomato paste. But tomato paste is a long, drawn-out story. It's going to take a lot of tomatoes to get one little jar of tomato sauce. So I tried that last year to prove to myself that I can do it. You're going to make your tomatoes, strain out the seeds, and then like dehydrate your liquid off in the oven first. And then put your flavoring in and then can it. If you want to put flavoring in.
Could you also just dehydrate all the tomatoes and then just rehydrate them, like seed them before so you get your tomato paste?
The same way that we're going to do the apple sauce, you're going to put it through here and it will take the peels and the seeds out to one side. And you'll basically just have like a liquid after you've boiled. So you need to dehydrate that liquid until it firms up for your tomato paste. Now some people like to, especially aroma tomatoes, you can just stick as many as you can fit in that jar and you can can them whole. And I like to wait for my tomatoes to be nice and ripe. Not soft, but nice and colorful before I can. This one is a little bleak still. Yellow jacket, just leave me alone. Margaret, the red tamper for the, or one of my Vitamix tampers would be fine. Okay, that is our canners. Thanks. Other one, this one's okay. I'm just going to lift these off the stove. Put that there. That's it. We're going to put the bread on here. Okay, I am just going to set the timer for the bread for half an hour. And then I'm going to add some more hot water in there. Okay, I just take my tamper from my blender and I just squeeze my tomatoes down here to make some juice. And as you can see, the scanner is got a rim here. And if you can see, my funnel just goes to that rim. Can you see that? So I know if I can see my contents that I'm going to put in my jar touching the rim of my funnel, then I've got enough inside my jar. Let me just rinse here. What happened to the towel? The white towel? That should be almost enough for this jar. See, I've got it full of juice there now. We can maybe get like a 2 or 3 blocks still. Canning caps. Now, a little advice from me. Come on. No more. Thanks. The salt. Okay, I've got my salt in here. We'll get to that now.
So you're only salting, you're not seasoning anything other than
You can season if you want to. You can even,
like basil or whatever.
yeah, you can put some basil in there.
It's nice to keep them fresh so you can use them for so many different things.
Yes.
With just salt.
Yes, I like to just flavor my stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Even if I do my potatoes, I don't put that much salt in. I put only a half a teaspoon of salt in my potatoes because I'm always going to flavor it when I prepare it afterwards. Okay, there is only a little bit. And then I can just pour the juice that's in my cookie sheet into my jar. That's that. Let me just wash my hands. It's a lot. Thank you. So I'm just going to put a teaspoon of salt in here. I keep a little teaspoon measure in my salt. Pour that on. And if you think your tomatoes are too sweet, you can add like a 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid in, just to higher the acid level in your jar as well. Now, this, see what's wrong with my cap? Can you see some writing on it? It's old, so it's not going to seal because it's already got a indent in the lid. So if you want to pass that around, I will get a new one. There's a box of new ones. Another one. And then you can just pass that and compare. This thing. Sorry. So I've got my tomatoes in there. If you want to get a really good seal, you can put this in hot water and it will actually puff the seal up a little bit more, so you get a secure seal here. I very seldom get jars that don't seal. I just grab it out of the box and I put it on there. Just one thing, when I buy new canning jars, if you take the caps off, you will see that there's an indent in them already. And also the jars will smell like the rubber that's on these seals. So if I buy new jars, I always wash them first before I use them. I don't just put stuff into a new box of jars. And I will boil my caps before I use them because they already got an indent in them. So I'm just going to put my cap on there and turn my, don't force it closed, you just want it to be closed. And that would go in a water bath or in a steam canner, your tomatoes. And we saw the ones that came out just now, okay? So that was the end of that story. Something's burning. Let me just see. Oh, it's the beans. I can smell the beans. Okay, that is tomatoes, and like I say, I just wash these and I just dry them and then I put them away for the next time. Okay, apples. We made some applesauce. That is in this pot. We just need to see when the water starts boiling. I need to count how long we want to keep them in there. For apples, we will put them in for 20 minutes for pints and 30 minutes for quarts. The tomatoes are 40 minutes for pints and 45 minutes for quarts. My dry beans is an hour and a half. And now in my house, we cannot have any apple peels around because my husband's allergic to them. And we don't want to go to ER at 11 at night. So we've got a little contraption here. We normally have a family project when we can apples. We buy apples. It's now the time to buy apples. Country store have them in stock. You can go and buy apples and make your applesauce for the rest of the year. So by next time when your applesauce are done, you buy your new apples. So this is a peeler and I'm just going to stick my apple onto these spokes here and twist it, and it's going to go all over because we don't have a counter to clean here. Go. And it's just going to peel the outside off. And there we, as kids, we always try to see who could get the longest apple peel with a knife. See, there's just one there. And then you can just pull it off, and it's got a little lever here that you pull back and get that. So if you want to see again, just press it in there. And if it's not fresh apples, it's not going to work, because apples get soft inside and it was just turned in a circle, and you can't peel it with this peeler. I've tried to do applesauce out of season, and it's not worth the effort. And there our apple is peeled. I just need my sharp knife again. And then I will just cut the pieces that's not peeled with my sharp knife, and then we're ready to chop them. I need a bowl, a white one. One of those flat white ones. Those tubs. That's too small. And we are lucky. We got a chopper, apple chopper. We just need to get a container to chop them into. These are apples. We wash them. The way I wash all my fruit before I can, especially apples, because they do put pesticides on. You're not going to get an organic apple that's going to look like this. No, the white basin. An organic apple is going to have some marks on it, and it ain't not going to be this big, unless you've got it in your own garden. Then I'll believe it is an organic apple. So I wash my apples. I put about 2 cups of vinegar in my basin, and I rinse them off with that. Okay, that's nice and big. Let's just get this out of the way. Can you people see this? Okay, now this won't be used for my husband, so I'm not going to peel everything off, but if we do applesauce, we make sure there's no peels anywhere. So I just stick it on there and chop it. And my kids love to do this. And I'm not coring my apples, because I've got my strainer that's going to take all the seeds and the peels out for me afterwards. That apple, make it. If I want to can apple slices, then I will use a corer. And you actually have a little thing that goes right over the apple. It just depends on your size of your apples. Some of them are too big to use that, so you'll have to just cut it by hand. This, I don't really, pears probably will also work. I've got another thing for potatoes.
This is like a
The last one I just pull from the bottom, because this blade is very sharp at the top. And there's my apples all chopped. And I will get my workers to put it in a pot for us. I need that pot of applesauce on the stove. While we waiting for the applesauce, look at this neat little contraption I found. If you don't have a water bath canner, you can buy a little rack like this, and if you have a big enough pot, you can just put it inside, and it's 2 ways. On this side you can put pints, and on this side you can put quarts. So it will just stand in the bottom of your pot, because you don't want your canning jar to touch the base of your pot, because it's going to get too hot there and it will crack your jar. So you always want to lift it off the base of your pot. Even in my pressure canners, I have a little shelf at the bottom so that the jars don't touch the bottom. So this is just a little neat thingy that I found. Okay, after we've chopped the apples, we put them in a pot, and be careful not to burn them. We did that a little bit this morning. We had to just rescue our apples. I've cooked them down. These apples go into applesauce by itself. I need a spoon, just a dishing up spoon. Now, if you are the only lady in your house and you have 3 men around, they come with easy fixes. My husband uses his drill. When we peel the apples, he will sit with his drill and a peeler in his hand over a bucket, and he'll peel the apples with a drill, and I will use this the big dishing up spoon to scoop this out. Come on, scoot. Get out. That's fine. Thanks. So we're going to use the drill method today. So I'm just going to fill this up. I need that red tamper. It should be in the box or... I'm just going to scoop my apples in here. Normally the apples will still have some form to it and be soft. Your apples need to be soft. But these ones just got mushy today and burnt. So don't scoop too deep in your pot. Just skim off and see how it's going at the bottom. I normally add about a cup of water. If I'm cooking 2 boxes or 3 boxes of apples in my big steam pot, I normally use 1 quart for 3, because the apple will make its own juice as soon as it starts to break down. But these just went into applesauce that didn't make any of its own juice. So we had to improvise a little bit. And some of them didn't want to cook soft. We had to take those out and do it in a different container.
How long do you cook it of when?
Until it gets soft. Okay, now I must figure out here how this thing works. Okay. Whoops, I forgot to put that. The peels are going to come out the other side. It separates, the peels and the seeds come out the front, and the applesauce is going to come out on the side. You can see some of it squeezed out here already. Let me just take this out of the way. So let's do it this way around. Okay, I just need to check this. It's almost boiling. It has a handle that goes on the back that you just have to crank. We actually learned this from the children's. One year I got apples and I had 2 of the steam cookers going when they broke, both of them. And I had 4 boxes of apples sitting there in the air. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we borrowed pots and pans and everything from everywhere, and we got the children's brought their strainer to me because I didn't have one at that stage because I was using the cannery in tree trunk. And by 11 that evening we were done. The kids would take turns to do the drill for me. Or they were a team, they did that for me and I checked the apples on the stove. Oops, that came off. Let's just put the normal thing on here. I'm just going to crank it.
The one that the seeds are, do you still reuse it?
I will put that through another time because I will get some more apple sauce out of that. But that goes to my chickens. Or to your compost bin.
Is it like a champion juicer?
This champion juicer is going to just grind up your seeds and it's going to be bitter. Yeah. So this is got a sieve inside that the pulp comes through and it just feeds the seeds and the skins out the other side. And you get different size strainers for different fruits that you do. That's it. I need a spatula. See, it comes out quite dry the second time. I can almost put it through another time, but we will save some time. Thanks. Okay, so I'm just going to clean this applesauce out here. Margaret, we're going to need about 5 jars and another funnel and dishing up spoon. And this is our applesauce, and we're just going to put them in jars. And this one is an old one. I'm so thankful because the other one didn't want to work this afternoon. It got stuck inside. So we had to get this one off. And this still has wings on it. The newer versions don't have these wings on. I've got the box here. This is how they look today. So I'm just loosening up these wings. And this one actually has 1, 2. There's some more applesauce here.
With the water bath,
Yes?
if you have just a big pot and you could put something on the bottom to hold the cans, that'll work just as fine, right?
Yeah,
Just something
exactly.
like this, right?
Or can buy, unfortunately I can't, I'll open a canner just now and show you the little thing that comes with it. You can buy them separately. But they're so big they might not fit in your pot. So you need to find something that will fit. Even if it's like a trivet that you can just put in the bottom. Yeah.
A metal trivet.
Yeah. So we're just going to scoop these out here. I had a canning class, and I'll show you inside. There's a little spring inside here, and when the students, I'm done, thanks. When the students clean my I call it a squeegee. the little, what do you call it? Like a spring inside got lost. So the next time I tried to make applesauce, that spring wasn't there, and I thought, oh, this is useless now. I might have to buy another one. And the one night I had a dream, and the Lord told me, don't worry, it's only going to be about $3 or $4. And when I went online, I found the spring for $3 or $4. And about 3 years later, we were using the compost from the compost heap, and we found the spring there.
We have a backup now.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all rusted by that time. Okay, so I'm just going to take it off here. And that one is done. Thanks. Dishing up spoon. I smell bread. These yellow jackets like me. Go away. Don't like you. I had a wasp sting me on my arm. When was it? Wednesday afternoon. No, go away. We're going to need some caps too. And rings. And once again, I'm only going to fill to the bottom of my rim. That one's got too much. So I'll have to scoop a little bit out there with a spoon.
You had said 20 minutes for a pint, but how much was for a quart? I missed that.
30.
50.
30.
30.
Yeah, it's normally just 5 minutes difference.
Okay.
And the best way to learn is get somebody to teach you. Buy a Ball's canning book. All the laws of canning is in there. And Ball's, did you find that Ball's book? In my bookshelf. In the dining room behind the curtain.
I couldn't find it. You said it was bowls.
It's just this thin. It should be on the second shelf. This one is just enough, a little bit more.
What happened to the fresh one you quarter?
The?
I'm confused between the fresh one you quarter and the boiled one. You had quarters to the fresh one. What happened to the fresh one?
They're cooking it in the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Go away. This is boiling now. And we have apples in there, so it's going to be 30 minutes.
Right?
Why do I have a timer on here?
Because of the bread. The bread, a half hour.
Okay, somebody have a timer for me? Just set it for 30 minutes. There it is. There's actually another one. There should be 2 more. But this I got as well. You get canning books like this and it will tell you the ins and outs about canning. I'll get the others and you can have a look at those just now. Come away. Yep. Timer, 30 minutes, please. Oh, I've got this full applesauce. Now I normally get 12 jars of applesauce from a box of apples. Today we'll get 12 because there's the other apples that's still cooking. because this makes 10. Margaret, I need a normal spoon too. Yellow jacket. Away. Sometimes they turn brown. No, a small one. I need to scoop some out there.
Okay, did you want to pass
Yes,
this
that's
out?
it. Yeah, you can pass these around. These are called the Ball's Blue Book. They've changed the color now, it's green. Now, if you by yourself, I suggest you don't use quarts but pints. Because then you open a jar of applesauce and it doesn't go to waste. I need a paper towel that's wet. Then you just you can them in pints, and that way you use the whole jar. My son loves applesauce. He will come home from work in the evening and eat a whole jar of applesauce on some slices of bread. Okay, I need a jug full of hot water to refill there. I'm just cleaning the rim because you don't want anything on this rim, otherwise it won't seal. I'm just going to share a little bit here. And before that wasp can go in there. Must I do it?
No, yes.
Yellow jacket. And that's how easy it is to make applesauce. It's really not that big a deal. And lots of fun if you have a friend that come and do it with you. Yes.
Someone who asked you, can we taste the applesauce?
If you come for breakfast tomorrow morning, that's what we're going to have. And on Sunday we'll have the tomatoes and the chickpeas in some form. Now, according to the canning book, you should get all these bubbles out. I don't fiddle with it, I just can it like that. And I've never really had a big problem. They say if there's a big bubble here at the bottom, it can cause the jar to crack or break. But these are special jars. As you can see, my jars all different colors and flavors, different sizes. I've got some scouts out in the neighborhood. If they clean out the barn and they see canning jars, guess who gets them? I'll get a whole truckload full of canning jars. I just have to scrub them and wash them, and they're ready for the next time. I just need to turn this down a little bit.
How many do you think you have in the house? Canning jars.
Canning jars.
What do you think?
How many?
How many canning jars do you think you have in your house?
In my house, I probably have about 500.
500. Filled?
Not filled.
Just wondering.
No, I've got more empty than filled.
Right now.
I didn't have good gardens for the last week. Traveled too much to do a lot. Yeah. So those are our applesauce, and we can maybe taste some of this one. We'll put it in a little thingy. Thank
It's
you.
going to take a little while.
What's next? I will do dry canning. We're not going to can these, we're just going to use it tomorrow. If I have 7 jars with the rest, we will can it tonight, this afternoon. Go away. Thank you. Okay. Let's take this out of the way. I wanted to show you the shelf inside this canning. You should, inside your pressure cooker, you've got a seal. And you should replace it every year because it gets stiff and it won't have such a nice seal, and you'll have some air escaping all the time, and it's just frustrating. So when this gets hard, you just replace it. It's easy. You go to Ace, Walmart, they carry. You just need to know the brand of your canner, and that's normally underneath. You can just get your model number underneath your canner. And as you can see, it always comes with a little thing inside. And it's just this high off the, yeah. So I have 3 canners. So if I can, I have a glass top stove and I can't put more than 1 canner on that at a time. So with this it makes much easier. I could have another canner because then you can just alternate, because you'll have one on the stove, one cooling, and the other one waiting. Okay, the hot water in the jug. And just from the tap, I just need to add some here. I just need to see how much water we have in here.
Did you say you have a glass pot stove that you can on?
Yes, you can on a glass top stove. Let's just share the secret.
This is hot.
Okay, thanks. I just need to add a little bit here by the bread. Yes, thanks. I might need some more of those caps and rings. So I just keep that just above the shelf that we've got inside there. It's actually a little too low, I think. Let's put it up a little bit. Okay. Now it's nice to do dry canning as well. For that you need some equipment. Margaret, we need to put these apples in a pot and start cooking them. Thanks. Yeah, I've got about 7 jars there. Okay, dry canning. You see my rice? I buy rice in bulk and I just can my rice, and it's sealed. It's not open. Okay? It's to... It just keeps it fresh longer. You can't get bugs in it. White rice don't last. I mean, brown rice will go rancid much quicker than white rice. So if you want to store it for long term, you're going to rather store white rice. I know it's not that nutritious, but it will store longer for emergency situations. Okay, so what we're going to do today, I'm going to just show you a few things. That's some of the granola we're going to have tomorrow morning. So I made a big batch. Like I say, I do things in big batches. Then for a few weeks I don't need to do some things. So I'm just going to put my cap up on there. And then I bought a set of these little sealers. It's a vacuum sealer. If you have a vacuum sealing machine, an electric one, you can just plug the pipe in here and it will suck out all the air. But it just fits right over there. Let me just move these over and we'll do some things here. I need a canning funnel. Yeah. I have a little pump sealer that I found here at the country store many years ago, but you still can find them on the internet. It's called Pumper Seal. And it actually comes with a little a pin that you prick a hole in your jar, and then you put this little band-aid on top of that, and it will suck the air and seal the band-aid. But this one sucks from the sides and it seals like it would be when you're canning. So I prefer this other version. So I've just adapted my pump. The other one would have a hole at the bottom and you will put the plug on the side. So we put the plug in the bottom, and I've got the pipe coming out the side. I just put my converter that you normally get with your what do you call, vacuum seal machine. I just put it on this little pipe, and then I stick that on top of my jar, and I pump my bicycle wheel. And if I pull this off and I hear the air going, then I know it's sealed.
That's without putting the hole, right?
That's without putting the hole. This cap is for.
Okay.
And I bought these, I think from Kmart online, and I got the big jar and the small jar. I prefer the wide mouth jars because it's much easier to clean inside. Where I come from, we come from South Africa, we only had wide mouth jars. We couldn't figure out why do they have narrow mouth ones here. It's such a problem to clean them inside, where you can stick your hand in the wide mouth. If I do beans for myself, I try to use my wide mouth ones. It's easier to get them out. So let's do some soup beans. We're just going to put that in our jars. Now, if you're concerned about bugs, we're going to use this weekend, so it's not going to be in this jar for a long time. You're just going to pop your beans in your freezer for a few days before the time, and that will kill all the eggs and bugs that's inside. And then you can just can it, and the bugs won't start up inside there.
Would that be just beans, or is that grains?
Grains and beans, yeah. So I'm just going to fill my jar until it's to the top. Yeah, some left over here.
How long do you have to freeze it?
About 3 days. That should be plenty. But when you take it out of the freezer, just let it get back to room temperature. Otherwise, you'll get moisture in your jar. I've got too many in there. Here we go. And the same here, I'm just going to put my cap over there. Oops. And suck out that air. Now I have some little pumps here. They work a little bit different.
When you buy those vacuum seal lids, do they come with, are
Something.
they just for the electric ones? Or
I
can
don't
you
know.
buy like a hand pump like that?
You can buy one.
Yeah.
You can buy it on the internet. They've got a, and I've asked Henry if he can maybe get some in the country store for us. He says it's better than others. I got one of these, but it's not so nice. These are the ones that you put on your vacuum bags, that you suck out all the air. It's got a little hole on the bag. It does work. We will do that the next round. This one is not sealed. Sometimes you will get some, especially if you do flour or something, it will get into the sides. Then you just need to wash this out and try again. There's something wrong there. Let's try. I've got a little red thingy here that should have been somewhere probably. It's here. That one's sealed. You hear the difference? So I've got some macaroni here. We're just gonna put that in our jar. We don't want the lentil. And what's nice about this, I know there's 4 cups in here, so I can. I've got too much.
Are you gonna cook the beans after you do it?
No, this is just going to stay in your pantry. It stays dry, so you have to cook your beans and your stuff afterwards. It's just to preserve it better.
Would you freeze that also?
No, you don't need, because it's sealed. Bugs can't get in there anymore.
No, she's saying, would you freeze it before you?
The macaroni. If you want to be safer, do it. Then you know that you've killed anything that could have been in the store. We probably use this within a month, so. Now I'm just going to switch the pump. Let me just see if this will fit in there. I doubt it. Yep. And then I'm just going to pump with this little one. And it didn't feel like it was doing. Let's see. No, that one didn't see. Go away. See, it just doesn't have a, you'll have to make a different contraption here at the front. And by trying to hold it over there, it just moves all the time. So let's just see. Not sealed, so I'm not going to use that one. Don't buy these. Just go back to my You get an adapter for this one?
No, it says where did you get it?
This I think came with the set, and if you have a vacuum sealer, it normally has a little one like this on the back of it, or you can buy it separately, because we lose these things. I know that. What's the time, people? 5? 4:31. Real time.
The timer.
No, we just need to know how much time we still have left. Okay, that one's sealed. Now you don't need the rings because they're sealed. The air is sucked out. So they do sometimes release. They're not that tight because you didn't use heat for it. Heat takes much more air out of your jar. So you can do this for your rice as well. Who works at the country store?
What, the twist tie problem?
Couldn't get it off. I got it.
They need a new way to tie this.
They're getting new bags. They're going to bag with a machine. So when I buy rice, I just buy 20-pound rice and I put it in my jars. Then I don't need to buy for 5 months or 6 months. Yeah. There, that one's sealed too. So we've got all those sealed. Just as samples. That's how easy it is to do dry sealing. And this I just put in my little box. we're putting it in our emergency kit, dry stuff, and it should keep for a few years. It's sealed, there's no air basically in there. So you get the small one and the big one. But you can choose which one you want. You can buy them separately as well, or you can buy it in a kit. And it just stays in a little box like that.
A few is 3. 2 years is 3 years. A couple of years.
Couple of years.
Oh, 2 years then?
2 years, yeah. They found grains in frozen. Now I read a news article that was 500 years old, and they were able to sprout it. That was sealed in a jar. Yeah. So they repopulated this grain, and they trying to get it back on the market again.
Heirloom grains.
Yeah. Okay, next, dehydration. We're getting ahead of things. This is too hot here. Okay, we've got some bananas and apple sauce. Okay, this morning I started with this. Let's just show you how we do the bananas. Okay, my advice is, you can see I've got 2 dehydrators. My favorite one is Excalibur. See, May forced me to buy my own because I always borrowed hers. And then when she left, she took hers with her. So it is much better to save the money and rather buy Excalibur than these cheap ones. This one is like $120. It does the job, but not as efficient as Excalibur. The thing with this is you have to have all your trays in here. So if you have something that's a little bit bulky, you can't really use this one. With the Excalibur, you can leave some of the trays out. And you can actually take all the trays out and put your bowl of bread dough in there to proof. And then take it out on a very low temperature. So that's the beauty of this. Now you'll see my bananas. They're not totally dry yet. I started this morning. But we will show you quickly how to split your bananas. With bananas, I just use my normal shelf little thingy that comes with this, and it normally takes about 6 bananas per tray. So I just take my banana and I wait for my bananas to get brown, because they're the best, because they're sweet, sweet, sweet. If they're still green, they're going to have a mealy taste to them when they're dehydrated. So I just take my banana, peel it, and if it has some spots like that, it's not rotten, that one, it's just soft a little bit. Let me just rinse my hands here. Yeah, these the rolls, I've cut it by the cake. So I just take my finger and I press it in one side of my banana, and it should split in 3. There's the first part, and then the other 2 I can just split open. Okay. It doesn't matter. It will do from both sides. I normally just, where there's a little hole, you can see the hole, I just stick my finger in. But be careful, you don't want to break it in pieces. I see which side lifts up, and then I gently slide my finger down the banana, because sometimes they do break in pieces. And then I just open this too. And be warned, this is addictive. You can eat 10 bananas when they're dehydrated, but when they're not, you only eat 1 banana.
You do it in 4 pieces, or
It's got 3. It's naturally 3, yeah. If you cut your banana open in a ring, there's a little angel inside. It's because of a 3. It's got a little dress and the arms. See, it's normally on this side where you take that little thingy off, and I just stick it in. Lillian, if you can get this a jar with bean powder and some potatoes in a pint, if you can just pass those to me.
What are you looking for, potatoes?
It's a pint. It's a powder. No, a powder.
Oh, here. Right there.
This one.
Yeah, and there's a bean one too. It's brown. Yep. Okay. So I will probably, you get the Excalibur that's got a timer on. Mine doesn't have the timer. It was a little bit cheaper. We'll have to squeeze all these bananas in this one tray. So I will have to get up a little earlier to make sure that I don't over dry them.
Smack that your timer is off on the tray. Or on the applesauce, I think.
Okay, thanks. We're just going to put it off. It can stay there for now. I'm just going to move these over to make space for one more banana. That's 3 pieces. Josh here.
Does the plastic dehydrator have electrical?
Yeah, it's electrical. I haven't done a sun one yet. That's still one on my to-do list. I want to do a solar one. If you look there in the middle, we're busy making some food for Sunday in the sun in a solar cooker. It's 2 lasagnas, and the temperature goes up to 275 in there. Okay, if we can just pass this around. Here are some that I've dried. You can pass around and take a piece. They dried a little too crispy. They should still be chewy. That's the best way to dehydrate them. There. And you can pass this around. There is some peaches, and this is applesauce with blueberry dots on top. Okay, let me just explain to you. You can see I've got some canned beans here and canned tomatoes. Can you pass me?
You want the red beans? Or the
Yeah,
red
whatever
beans?
beans, and tomatoes, a quart.
You have a pint
There
here.
should be a quart.
I do not see a quart, only a pint. What are you looking for?
Okay, don't worry. But guess how much beans and tomatoes I have in this jar. If you don't have space in your pantry, you can make space by dehydrating. There is applesauce with blueberries on. If you don't want to eat it now, grab a piece for later. And the other one is just peach sauce. I'll explain to you now. We just add the powder. I take my beans. We can do it now. Beans and tomatoes. Margaret's going to blend up some beans. And she's going to take 2 jars of beans and 1 jar of tomatoes, quart. And blend that all together. And I'll spread it on these fiberglass sheets and dehydrate it until it curls up like chips. And then I just put it in my Vitamix and make a powder. So when my men go backpacking, they put just a 1/4 cup in a little bag and stick it in their backpack. And when they get to base camp, they just add water and it will expand. And they've already got a cooked meal. So there is, I think there's 9 jars in this 1 jar. 6 beans and 3 tomatoes in this jar. I might have had just a little bit extra that I put in another one. What I did is I canned my potatoes, like you can see. So what I did is I took some canned potatoes, and we had fruit in the dehydrator. So we didn't want to put potatoes with fruit and have a fruity potato dehydrated thing. So we just stuck it on this, I've got silicone sheets on my cookie sheets, and I just spread it on there and baked it in the oven. And guess what? My angel put the oven off for me before it burnt. Because I didn't, and nobody in my house owned up for putting my oven off. So even when I make granola, I stick it in the oven at 170 and I forget about it. And overnight, or I'll start in the morning, in the evening I take it out. But when I got to the potatoes, they were nice and crisp and the oven was off. And then I just broke them up and put it through my Vitamix. And there is 3 quarts in this jar of potatoes. So when my guys go camping, they can just put some water in here and it will swell up and they have got a meal with them. I've got some dried vegetables.
Are you talking about, here we go, squash, you mean?
No, there's a, yeah, this.
Okay, mixed.
Okay, who can guess how much is in this jar? It's just mixed vegetables.
Non-canned.
No, I bought frozen vegetables.
6 bags. 6 bags?
7 pounds in this jar. And like you can see, I've sealed it too, so it is sealed. So that's also a nice camping food for my family. You just add water and let it stand for a while. Yeah, it will rehydrate. So you can buy mixed vegetables for 79 cents a pound, and you just do that for emergency food if you can't buy anything. Okay, I must just now identify what I have here.
Like, say you'd use that, you wouldn't use all of it.
No.
So
You're going to take like a 1/4 cup or less.
and then you
Put water.
reseal, and then you reseal it.
You can dry seal it again. Now you will see I put, this is peach. I dehydrated it today. It's nice and dry. I can touch. This one is not dry. You can see there's a white, a wet patch there in the middle. So I'm just going to put it back in here.
So you blend them and then you put it in there?
I have made applesauce and pear sauce and peach sauce already, so I just put it right on top. I shake it out of the jar. With these big sheets, I've put a 1/2 jar of applesauce on here. That's peach, this is pear, this is my applesauce. So it will stick, it's nice and dry. So I'm just going to take it and peel it off. And then you can just roll it up or cut it in strips or whatever you like it. Where we come from, they make every kind of fruit into a dehydrated fruit. So you can just chew on it. Or you can cut it in pieces and share it with other people. So this is the applesauce. Let's just get the other applesauce. It comes off very easily. I will just show you with one of the jars down here how easy it is to get on here. This is peach, I think.
Just make a peach puree and then.
Yeah, I made a peach puree and I canned that. We got peaches for a very good price this year. And I bought a couple of boxes. So we decided it's the quickest to make peach sauce. So it turns out very nice in a roll. If you can pass me the peach there, I can just show you how I put it on here. There should be apple or peach, no, sauce.
Right next to the beans, I think. And then right next to the, and then there's a peach, I think. Right there.
There's, give me a peach. See, this one is a little damp still, but that's very nice too because it's a little softer to chew on. It is a little bit more flexible. That's pear. I used to can my stuff and just put it on a shelf with a date. And like I say, I'm the only lady in the house. When I'm not here, the guys get frustrated because they don't know what's in the jars. So I was told to label it, and my son gave me a label maker for Mother's Day. So I can do it nice now. Look there. In this one, okay, that's another secret with beans I wanted to share with you. Some of us have a hard time to digest beans. So there's a little secret that you can try, and that is to add 2 bay leaves to your jar. Or if you go to an Indian store, you can buy asafoetida.
Bay leaf.
No, asafoetida is something different. I will go and get a jar, and you only need a little pinch, not much, just like a tip of a knife that you put in there in your jar, and that will help with the gas problem. You don't have it. Let me grab that asafoetida. Thanks. I need these things to be cleaned quickly. Just wipe them off. This, has anybody used black salt?
Yes.
Now, black salt's very nice when you make scrambled tofu because you get that eggy smell to it. Now, this smells almost a little bit like black salt, but it is not. It's a plant that gets a milk, and they dry that, and they make a powder out of that. And Indians use that as a flavoring in their food. You can just pass that asafoetida. That's how it looks like if you go to an Indian store. Okay, we're going to take our peach sauce. I need a spatula. Okay, I want to teach you quickly. How do you open a canning jar? Who can open a canning jar without damaging the lid? Because if we bend that lid that it's out of proportion, when we can't buy caps anymore, what you're going to do? I save my caps. If they're not rusted inside and they're nice on the bottom side, I keep it in a box because I can boil those and the rubber will puff out again and I can reuse it. I come from a country where they don't even make the canning jars anymore. We couldn't find the lids anymore. I still can with a glass lid that's got the elastic around, and they don't do that anymore. So I just say that one day I might not be able to buy the lids and I still have some that I can repurpose. Okay, so this is my peach sauce. I'm just going to take half of the jar and Let me just stir this one up because it's got liquid at the bottom. I'm just going to put half a jar on here. Whoops. That's about half a jar. And then I'm going to spread it into the corners. I'm going to put it on the other one, okay. And then what I do is I take my sheet and I just shake it a little bit so it evens out. I'm making a noise here. Because you want it even, otherwise some places will get drier than other places. Did we reset that timer for another 30 minutes?
Another 30 minutes timer.
How much time has lapsed? About 15 minutes? Just set it for an hour. That should be fine. Yeah, you can do it with a leftover smoothie.
So how to take the lid off without breaking it? Without
Okay,
cleaning it?
I'll show you now. Go away. Let's just put this one on here as well. On my smaller dehydrator, I put it on 3 sheets. And you don't want to go too close to the edges because then it might just flatten out a little bit and drip all over.
We may be going over some of these things like the squash and things like that. When you dehydrate those, you dehydrate them cooked or you dehydrate them raw?
I will go over that.
Sorry, I'm jumping in.
Yeah. I'm just flattening this out a little bit. And on your dehydrator, it normally has a guide that says fruit rolls at about 139. So we're just going to put it on that setting. Okay, so if I want to open a jar, I need a firm knife, just like I would eat with. So we're just going to open this jar and reseal it with a lid. I take my jar and I take a nice firm knife. See, it's not bending. And I take the back side of my knife and you will see there's a thread on your jar. And I'm just going to follow this thread until it links with my jar, my cap. And I'm going to put it there on that last little piece. And I'll keep my knife level. I'm going to push from the bottom with my finger and pull with my hand, keeping this knife straight. That way my cap will just pop off and it's not damaged. So if I use a knife and I just bend it like this, it's going to bend the cap as well. So that's how I take my... It takes some practice. We have lots of fun with the students in my kitchen when we do cooking classes. We tried the other night. So that's the dehydration of the, what happened to the beans? Here it is. For the beans, I'm going to use a solid sheet, and we just need to wash this. I need the red one. It's a little bit better. I just want to check the water in this bread. Can you smell it? The bread? That's a nice thing. If you want to sell your home, you bake bread when the people come and visit your home, and you will sell it much easier because it smells like home.
I did cookies and I sold
What
my
kind of
house.
paper is that? What kind of paper?
Paper? It is a like a silicone sheet that you buy with your dehydrator. The Excalibur does not come with it. I bought it extra, and on Amazon it gave you some generic choices that was much cheaper, and I just bought those because they were like half the price of the Excalibur brand.
You bought them at Walmart, you said? For,
I bought it on Amazon.
oh, Amazon, yeah.
Yeah, because 2 days later it's here.
And Excalibur is pretty affordable on Amazon, too.
Yeah, and at the moment, I think even your Vitamixes are cheaper because the new model is coming in. So they selling the old model out for much cheaper. Now, guys, every lady needs a Vitamix in her kitchen.
Yes.
It's just a must-have. Save up and buy you one. This is just beans and tomatoes that I've blended together, canned beans. And I'm just going to spread it on this. I just put it in the middle, and then I'm going to spread it to the sides. And I like to have it level on the side. There's some beans left here, but it's all cooked. So when it's dehydrated, we're just going to blend it up in the Vitamix into a powder. Then you've got like refried beans. This little yellow jacket likes beans.
Silicone thing edible or what?
That?
It's edible, the silicone paper? Yeah.
No, the silicone paper is going to just prevent the mush to go through. Just beans and tomatoes. It's going to be like a leather. You can eat it like chips afterwards. It's really good. I sometimes put some garlic in here as well before I dehydrate it. And it's really good. You can eat it out of the bowl. But like I say, I normally do this for camping food. It makes it much lighter in a backpack.
Now, do you go a step farther than the leather? You dry it out completely, then you grind it in the Vitamix? Okay. I mean, it's just... And, I mean,
This is going to be crispy. It's not going to be a leather.
oh, it's not? Okay.
Yeah,
It would
because
be
it's
like a
beans.
chip.
Yeah,
Okay, it would be like a
it'd
chip.
be like chips. Yes, this is beans and tomatoes. And what I've done before is I would make a stew and just cut my vegetables in small little blocks, small little cubes, and dehydrate that for them when they go camping. And they can just put hot water in there, and within half an hour they've got their cooked food. You can always come and visit me.
Sign ups. Do we have?
Just come visit.
You can always visit me,
I'm gonna.
and you can have some private tutoring.
I will.
And that's nice because then I have some help. I had some angels help me this morning with the tomatoes.
You could do. Do you have a day where you're gonna can?
I will be making applesauce soon.
Because I'd like to, on that research.
Unfortunately, the gardening time is over. I might get some vegetables up from Dayton. And what I like to do is I like to get some red peppers and then I just can it and I use that for my cheeses and flavoring.
See that you have the peppers down there. You did them in strips.
Yes.
You roast them at all, or you just put them in the jar?
I just cut them in strips and put them in a jar. I need the others.
Just salt.
I make a pickle with them. So just put it on, yeah. Citric acid or vinegar or lemon juice.
Lemon juice. You can leave lemon juice for.
Yeah. I've got, if you don't have it on your canning stuff, I do have somewhere where I converted citric acid for vinegar when I do canning.
I like that. She converted citric acid to vinegar. So she has the conversion.
Instead of vinegar, you can use citric acid.
That's what I want.
So when you become a vegan, you always adapt your recipes. You take your best recipes and you just change them a little bit and nobody knows the difference. So the same with many recipes. You can learn how to adapt it. I'm so messy. If you can just empty it into that one, then it's going to be a little easier. Everything is sticky. Oh, I need my spatula. There's
Dump what's
another
in here, in
black
this?
one. Yeah, it's easier to get out there. Go away. As long as they don't sting me, that's fine. That's it. We should have one more. While we're waiting, we can open the scanner and just lift these out a little bit. And now, if you stay quiet, you can hear them pop. So when I can at night, I can go and lie on my bed and I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of them sealed. Because I can hear them when they pop. This is the easiest way to get a class of students to, there's the first one, did you hear it? Yeah. To keep the students quiet for at least 10 minutes because they want to hear it. They won't say anything because if somebody makes a noise, then they can't hear it. So I've got 2 that sealed already. There's still another 5 that needs to go. So if I stay close by here, we might hear some others. Let's see. When you turn your back, it will happen. Never press on your caps. They must seal by themselves, okay? it's not happening. Just as I go away, that will happen. Okay. If you're done there, just shake it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's gonna pop when I go away. We need some breadboards that's cleaned. We can just put these in Ziploc bags.
Ooh, just for the mess.
It's fine. And I'm just going to put that on the highest setting for the beans. We want to get the beans. I never open my canning jars. With the dial canning jar, can you people see that dial? I'll just need a breadboard to put the hot pot on. Thanks. Okay, you can see the dial is on 0 now. That's the joys of having a gas stove. Pitch black. So I can take my weight off now and there's no steam that's coming out. If I'm going to take my weight off when there's still some steam in there, the steam is going to escape so quickly and all my liquids that's in my jars will boil out. And half of your jars won't seal because probably some of the food that's inside that's going to extra boil because of the pressure that's released will come into your lid and that will prevent it from sealing. So I always wait for my canner to cool off by itself. So we have our beans here and you can probably smell it. And on your canner, this is an old canner. Somebody gave it to me. I think there was a handle missing and maybe the dial. And I just bought them online. And there I've got a canner. It cost me $20. These normally, on the flash stick that you will get, I've got a document where I put links on all the equipment that I have for the canning class. In front here, there's a little stripe here on the canner. On the rim here, there's a little pin. And you just have to line that up and never try and do it the other way because you won't open the scanner again. And then you just twist it and it will close. Now I've got it wrong. I'll need a man to help me there. Let me just turn it around. I twisted it the wrong way because I was from the back. That's going to be a mission. I'll have to get somebody with patience to open that one. I had it open. That was not good. This one, how do I know when there's enough pressure in my canner to put the weight on? When you start your canner, you're not going to have the weight on it because you first have to release all the air that's inside of your canner because you need the pressure in the canner. So you've got this little knobby here on this canner and it doesn't really matter if it's this way around or the other way around. You can actually switch it around. The other side is flat. But as soon as there's enough pressure in the canner, this will pop up and stay up. That way I'll know there's enough pressure. Otherwise, you look at the stream of air coming out here, the steam. If it's still puffing, and you can see little puffs, 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 there's still air inside that needs to come out. So you wait for a steady stream to come out of steam. And then you put your weight on. And while it's boiling, it needs to gently just move. It mustn't go like this, then it's too hot. You need to on my stove, I set down my plate to about 2 when I'm canning. On this, I had it on low. And this one also, it's got a triangle on the side, and that lines up with your handle, and that's the way you open it. So we've got that one open.
Yeah, you start your time when you put the weight on.
When I put the weight on.
Okay.
No, not actually, when it starts jiggling.
Oh, when time.
Yeah. So I'm just going to take these out so you can see. And once again, all my jars sealed in here. I can hear them. That one is questionable, but it is indented. So there's my beans all cooked. And I've got 7 meals ready cooked. And that can stay on your shelf. Sometimes beans will lose their seal, but I use these within 3 months. I never have them on the shelf for longer than 3 months. That's it. And you will see when I put my jars in my pressure canner, I fill the water up to about here. I don't need it all the way to the top because it's going to use the steam. So we have some water left, and you can normally smell that you've been doing beans. So this one is done. I can't get this other pot open. I need some male help. And I put these in a little place where I know where all of them stay, because or I put it back in the box with my canner, so next time when I do my canning, I don't need to search for them because they have a tendency to disappear. Let's see if we can get this thing open. I turned it the wrong way. It should come this way to open. Yeah, turn it now. You have to like lift this side and turn it, I think. So just learn out of this mistake. Follow the arrows the right way. It says open, closed on the right side. I was trying to do it the reverse way. We will figure it out sometime. But this is everything. How long do we still have for the bread? Who's got the timer? How many minutes? Oh, thank you. 7 minutes. Oh, 30 minutes. 7. Okay, you can wait and we can take the bread out. Thank you, Josh. Just in the kitchen is fine. Okay, and there is your garbanzo beans. And sometimes you will get some jars that's not so good. When you open your canner, you will smell beans. Then you know one of your jars cracked and it's all underneath, because or your jar would be floating here at the top. Then you know the contents is inside and you just clean it out. That's just part of canning. Once in a while it happens. And all these jars also sealed. Now when you're single or just 2 people, it's no use doing these big jars because it's going to sit in your fridge. You're not going to make chickpeas every day. I make waffles with mine. You'll have to take it underneath because it's sort of wet there now. So I will do pint jars of beans. So that's just like 2 meals for a single person. So even with my applesauce, if it's just me, With Josh, I have to have a quart because a pint will frustrate him. So if it was just me and Vaughan, I would put them in pint jars. It's more economical to have your quarts because they basically the same price for a case of 12 than pints. I think pints is like $1 cheaper and they're half the size. And people don't really give pints away. You can get quart jars at yard sales. Now just a little tip. If you go to a yard sale and you see jars, don't go and pay a lot for them. If you pay more than 75 cents, you could have bought brand new ones in the store for 75 cents because it's $9 for 12. And if you buy second-hand ones, you still have to buy the ring and the cap, so that's going to add some more to your investment. I have rings and I normally buy new caps every year. So don't pay more than 10 cents a jar at a yard sale, otherwise it's not worth it. 10, 15 cents maybe at the most. If somebody's emptying their shed and they're throwing jars out, then say, you can pass it my way. It takes some scrubbing to get some of them clean. Like you can see, I do use the half-gallon jars. According to USDA, it's not safe to use half-gallon jars anymore. But when I can my potatoes, I use these because I can put them in this big pressure canner. And that's just enough for 4 of us, a half a gallon with potatoes. Sometimes I will use a half a gallon and a quart for potatoes.
So they say they're not safe.
Yeah. But I will believe my grandmother that's been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. They say it's not safe.
So
Do they not get enough of a seal, they think?
they say that it doesn't get hot enough right in the center to kill botulism. Now let's just talk about botulism is a danger of canning. And you most probably will get it in vegetables, not in fruit, because there's enough acid to kill it. So how do you protect yourself from botulism? You never eat cold stuff out of a jar that's a vegetable. You always reheat it, because if you reheat it, it will kill the botulism. So why panic about botulism? Just reheat your contents and you won't have it. So we're just gonna, you can drain this out. It's very dirty. No, we're done. We're just waiting for the bread. I can take the applesauce out. And I think we accomplished quite a bit this afternoon. I remember when I was in South Africa, we had a truckload full of pears that turned over right in front of our farm gate, like just half a mile down the road. And it was insured, so the guy just left everything there, and every car that came by picked up pears. And we probably collected about 50 boxes of pears. We gave to everybody in the church. And I was canning, and I thought I was doing real well. I was canning pears for 2 weeks. Every day we would do some pears, because I didn't have the equipment we have. We can totally different in South Africa. We don't use a water bath. My whole fruit I will cut in halves and quarters, and I will boil the syrup and then put my fruit in there, and I will have a hot jar with hot syrup. Then I'll have a bowl next to my hot pot of fruit. I will fill it right to the rim. Then I'll take my ring and my cap and put it over and press so that the liquid squeezes out, so there's no air inside. And then I'll close my rim, turn my bottle upside down and let it stand on my counter on a towel, and tomorrow morning I just turn them over and they're all sealed, and we never died. That's how I can fruit. And if I made jam, I would just take wax and melt it and just put a layer of wax on top. Thank you. So how many minutes do we have left?
30 seconds.
Okay. There we are. This one's got silicone handles, so that helps a little bit. You can smell the bread. Smell there. So I'm just gonna dig my cans out here. Whoops. I need those. Sometimes your elastics will break from the heat. These have been keeping quite well. I just pop those off, and then I'm just going to pull these. And now I just need it's full of soot on there. And then I'm just going to shake this out. Now I did an experiment. In South Africa I use coffee cans to make my bread. And I will take a loaf of bread made in a loaf pan, and I will take a coffee can bread, and guess which one was finished first? The round one, because it's different. And it's a crustless bread. It doesn't have any crust because you steamed it. If you come on Sunday, we'll have some for dessert. We made some monkey butter. Where's the monkey butter?
Down here.
Let's show you the monkey butter. Who can tell me what monkey butter is? No, don't tell if you know.
Banana.
Banana jam. Banana, pineapple, and coconut jam. Really good. You can have it for dessert on Sunday if you've got your meal ticket. And with bread, I normally leave my bread to cool down and only slice it the next day. Otherwise it might still be a little gooey inside, and you just, if I put this on its side, it's going to squash flat when I try to slice it. So I wait till tomorrow morning and I slice it. I know with my family it doesn't always work that way, because when they come in and they smell the bread, you have to get the crust, at least when it's fresh. So when I bake bread, I'm very fortunate. With my oven, I can bake 12 loaves at a time. So when they come out of the oven, I've got a big tablecloth that I put on my counter, and I put all my bread inside the tablecloth first, and I wrap it up until they cool down. As soon as they cool down, then I will bag them. Otherwise your bags sweat. And we've got a slicer here that they got for the bakery. So we just take our bread in a box and we go and slice all the bread and put it in the freezer. And so when we eat bread, we just take one slice out, pop it in the toaster, and we don't have bread that goes moldy. So the bread goes back in the freezer. So that's a way. And then also when I bake bread, if you want a greater blessing, pray for your bread before you make it, that you don't forget things, because I've made perfectly beautiful bread dough just to realize I never put the yeast in it. And how do you get yeast into that? You just make flat bread with that. So pray before you make your bread and share. So if I make 12 loaves of bread, I give 2 away to somebody, whoever is the fortunate one that I think of that day. I give a loaf or 2 away, and that's like tithing your bread, and the Lord will give you much more blessings in the end. So, okay, that is all for today. We will be... Question?
Go back to the glass top stove.
Yes. Oh yeah, glass top stove. Let me just show you. If you look at my canner underneath, I saved this canner. I wouldn't put it on my gas stove because it warps on the gas stove. It gets too hot and it will warp your bottom. The other canner that I had already has a warped bottom. On my glass top stove you can see there's no contact. It just swivels around, and you have to have that contact for your stove to work. Otherwise it comes on and goes off, comes on, and it doesn't have the right temperature. So even though this pot is very big, I'm going to put my small plate on that's just going to cover this area for when I can with the scanner. The other big canner that we had, it's got a flat bottom as well. This one doesn't work that well because it's got a corrugated bottom. So it must be a flat bottom that gets contact with your glass. Okay. And I try and keep my boxes and just store it in there, and I just can put it away out of the way. And like I say, we circulate our canning. When you're canning potatoes, I've gone through 14 canners in one day, just one after the other to get everything done, because you want to get your potatoes in the jars as quick as possible. That way you get fresh potatoes. It really tastes like potatoes that you just dug when you start prepare them. Like I say, don't go and buy in the store. If you know a farmer, go and buy the potatoes from them when they dig them and then can them. Or grow your own potatoes. Potatoes are easy to grow. There's one secret when you grow potatoes. Let me share that with you. Who's grown potatoes before? Who's picked potato bugs for hours on end? Potato bugs are pain. So we found the solution. Before we plant our potatoes, we soak them in a solution of hydrogen peroxide. It gives some extra oxygen to your seed, and your plant is much healthier, and the bugs stay away from them. You might have 2 plants that is not as healthy, and all the bugs will go there. We haven't picked potato bugs for the last 5 years. It's a solution. We buy 35% peroxide from the country store, and you dilute it. If you don't know what a dilution is, just email me. It's easy. My email address is magdasparrow@gmail.com, and ask me to send you the link. There's a web page that gives you this breakdown of solutions. 35 is very strong. If you splash something on you, you will burn a white spot on your skin that stings like a bee sting. Food grade, 35%. They sell them in gallon containers at the country store. You have to ask for that. But it goes away within 5 or 10 minutes. The sting will disappear and your skin will return to normal. But it's better to have protection when you work with that. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, do you peel the potatoes to candle?
It depends what quality my potatoes are. Sometimes I'll have really ugly skins, then I'm going to peel them. And you might have some ground critters that get in there too. So I peel those. If it's nice skins, I just chop them with the skins on. Yeah.
You soak the whole potato in the hydrogen peroxide?
Before you plant it. Yes. Yeah, for about 20 minutes. If you cut them up, we've learned that we plant whole potatoes. We don't cut them up anymore because you get bigger tubers. So if you cut them, you're first going to dry them out before you soak them in the peroxide. Otherwise, it's going to get rotten on the edges that you cut it.
What's your email?
It's just Magda, M-A-G-D-A, Sparrow, @gmail.com. If I don't reply, please just don't give up because I get 100 emails every day. I don't have time to sift through everything. So they sometimes disappear. If I don't flag it, I don't find it. So, any other questions? Find a partner and do things together. It's so much more fun. So, okay. We done a little earlier. That gives you time to get ready for church at 7. So, so I hope you learned something.